Artists, today we are going to make something with symmetry. We're going to create a radial symmetry design. And the very first thing that we need to do is we need to prepare our square sheet of paper. We need to fold it in half as best as we can, both vertically and horizontally. So we're going to end up with a small square piece of paper. With your paper folded, I want you to set it up so that the opening is on the left and the top, and the fold is on the bottom and right. We're going to have two folds on the right, one fold on the bottom, an opening on the left, and an opening on the top. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a design, and you're going to use a black crayon. What you want to make sure you do is make sure you have some of your design touching the folds here and here, and you can do any other designs around. They can be curved lines, they can be zigzag lines, they can be straight lines. You can do any kind of design, but you want to make sure that you're not really trying to draw a picture or something. We really want to stick to just designs for this. So I'm going to try maybe some curved lines here, maybe some curved lines there. So I've touched the folds here. I really like the way that curved lines look, so I'm going to stick to curves, but you could do more geometric shapes. I'm going to add some circles here. Maybe I could do some wavy lines here. When you're drawing, I want you to think about the fact that these shapes are eventually going to be painted. So when you draw, try to give yourself a lot of room to paint. So what I mean by that is you want to give yourself areas that you can fit a paintbrush in. Once you have added your design to your square, the next step is to begin transferring it. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up our piece of paper, and I want to transfer this design here. So I'm going to fold right along that same crease that I've already done. We really want to make sure we're not making any new folds. And right on top of that crayon that we've already done, we're going to take a popsicle stick and we're going to take the edge. So this part right here, so we're going to rub the edge right onto the paper. So I'm not rubbing the flat end, I'm taking that edge and I am rubbing it right on top of all of the lines that I've just drawn in crayon. And you should be able to kind of see them on the back. If you can't see them, you might have to guess where they're at, but I can see mine pretty good. And what's going to happen is it's going to start transferring onto the other side for you to see. So I want you to continue doing that until you can see your design. Once you have transferred your design, your job is to take your black crayon and to go back in and trace over the lines that you've transferred. So I'm going to pause and go over all of my lines that I've just transferred. Once you've traced, you'll notice that you have a design with symmetry. So it is a mirror image on both sides. But we're not going to stop there. I'm going to now take my paper and fold it down. And this time, I'm going to transfer this design to this square. So I'm staying right on my original fold. I'm taking the edge of that popsicle stick, and I'm going to once again rub the popsicle stick right on top of the back of the paper to transfer that crayon. Once you've transferred, once again, you're going to take your crayon and you're going to trace over top of those lines that have transferred. And the final step, which if you haven't guessed already, is we're going to transfer this square to our last square. So I'm going to fold my paper one more time. I'm going to use that popsicle stick and I'm going to transfer that last batch of crayon line. Finally, remember, once it's transferred, we need to again trace over those transferred lines. And what you've just created is something with symmetry. So we have mirrored images, and we have what's called radial symmetry, which means we're radiating from the center out. And those images are all mirrored because we have transferred them. Once you're done, make sure the back has your name and your class code, and then we can talk about how we're going to finish these off with paint. We are going to be painting our Symmetry designs with tempera paint cakes. And what we need to remember is that because Symmetry repeats itself, so do your colors. So when we are painting, whatever colors you decide to paint, your image in each square need to be repeated in all of these to create symmetry. So when we paint, remember to activate the paint, we need water. So I've got my water here and my sponge here. So I'm going to start on this side. If I know that I want this circle here to be yellow, so I'm going to activate the yellow. So if this circle is going to be yellow, I know that that circle needs to be yellow here. Okay, now this is where it might get tricky. It's not this circle. Remember, it's the circle that is closest to this shape. So it's going to be this circle. Okay, and this circle. So whatever I am painting, I need to make sure that I am repeating that in all of the shapes that I've repeated with the transfer. So whatever patterns I may be doing, I need to follow those patterns throughout my project so that I am really creating symmetry not only with the designs, but with the colors. Now, remember when we are cleaning our brushes, the very first thing that we do is we wipe it on our messy mat. Remember, we are gentle with the brush. Then I'm wiping it on that sponge to get that extra paint out. So I'm wiping it on the sponge. Then I'm getting the fresh water before I get my new color. So once again, whatever I'm doing, I'm going to have to repeat in each of those areas so that I'm really creating a symmetrical design. So I'm going to go ahead and pause, and I'm going to finish painting my symmetry so that you can see a finished product. Once you are done painting your shapes and designs, you can then decide if you wanted to go back in and paint your whole background a color, or if you like the way that it looks white instead. I would also recommend when you're completely finished and when your paint is dry, it's a really good idea to sign your name on the front of your paper, but you don't really want to take away from your design. So if you want to get a skinny or fine point Sharpie to sign your name in the lower right hand corner, I think it always really ties it together. Once you're done, this can go on the drying rack and you've just created an art project with symmetry.